Today's episode of Down to Earth Talk is sponsored by VOC Magazine, Voice of Champion. Visit www.vocmagazine.com to get your copy of the latest publication today. That's VOC Magazine, the Voice of Champions. Join Apostle Cint Gilstrap as she partners with Brighter Day Missions Liberia in expressing the love of God through educational empowerment, fighting for the rights of the children of Liberia, and hunger alleviation. Your love gift of any amount helps staff educators, provide food for the children, educational equipment, and so much more. To partner with Apostle Cint Gilstrap with Missions to Liberia, or for more information, simply visit www.cgmenterprises.org. The seed that leaves your hand never leaves your life, but goes into your future where it multiplies.
Welcome. This is your host on tonight, Dr. Cint Gilstrap, and this is Down to Earth Talk. I am so excited on Friday. I'm always excited on Friday in Atlanta, Georgia. We're airing here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are ready to get started. You are in for a treat. Listen, the Bible said in the book of Revelations, this is amazing, that God had the voice of many waters. This woman of God tonight, every time I hear her in everything that she does, her trajectory always come across as having a voice of many waters. Welcome tonight again to Down to Earth Talk, and I am your host, Dr. Cint Gilstrap, and we are going to bring a topic and a discussion that's going to blow your mind. So you all do me a favor, go ahead and tag, share, and invite, and have those ones to come on that's ready, coming on with expectation, because we're excited about what God is going to do, what he's going to say tonight, and how he's going to get it all done. I'm telling you, you're in for a treat. Listen, we have some things that we have on the table, on the plate. We have what do we have going on? VOC Magazine, that's right. Voices of Champions, for those that desire to speak but are afraid of the platform. We have a voice. You have a voice of champions. If you desire to put your article in the magazine, we have the article, we have advertisement for you, we have opportunities for you to advertise. So I'm excited for that. Also, we have billboard opportunities. You said, you know what, Apostle, I want a billboard. We have billboard opportunities. It's a digital experience, it's a shared experience. So we have those things for you. Those of you that desire any type of coaching or counseling, we have that in place for you. So all you have to do is follow us at www.cgmenterprises.org. That's right. And if you want to send us a message, you're welcome to do so at info@cgm.org. And we will answer you within 24 to 48 hours. Tonight, you are in for a treat. We have some things going on. I'm telling you, you all need to follow us at Down to Earth Talk. With that being said, I said earlier that you are in for a treat. There are no words to really explain this phenomenon. When I re-met her, she said to me, I know you. And I said, no, you don't know me. She said, yes, I do. She said, when I was a little girl, I used to listen to you. Well, I'm telling you, she sprung up, I tell you, to be such a powerful woman of God. And today she's on the platform with us. She is a pastor. She's a visionary. She's a CEO. She's a mother. She's a woman. She's empowered. She's a sister, a daughter, a friend, and I tell you, of many. And she's also the mouthpiece of God. But we're going to have a conversation on tonight. And I'm telling you, you all get ready, because her voice alone is like the voice of many waters. I present to some and introduce my guest on tonight, none other than Pastor the visionary, the entrepreneur, Phyllicia Lynn. Come on and put your hands together for this woman of God.
Bless
God
you.
bless you, woman of God. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am well. I'm well. I'm well. I'm so honored that you're here with us on tonight. And I tell you, I was listening earlier and I said, God, what is it that you want us to talk about? But the first thing I want us to do, woman of God, because I know how you flow, is so powerful. I want you to share with us what God has placed in your spirit during this dispensation in time. And I'll just jump in and out and intervene because I know who I'm dealing with on tonight, and I don't want to hold back what God is saying on tonight. So share with the audience on tonight the things that God has placed in your spirit, and then I would just jump in and out. I'm telling you, I'm excited. I can't give you a subject because you're so broad, the spectrum of who you are. I cannot box you in. I can't do that. So you do so many things. I know you're a coach. I know you do psychology. You know, you're a pastor. You're now a new mom. So you share with us what God has placed in your spirit on tonight.
First, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the moment to be able to share. I'm honored that I was one. You are such an amazing woman of God, and I've shared that before. And but just for those that are watching, you are just so awesome. So I'm honored. The one thing that God has definitely been dealing with me about is intimacy. Um, with everything that's happening in the earth and everything that is going on and all of the things that we hear, there's a scriptural text in the Bible that says that when you hear of wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes in diverse places, get in a holy place and stay there until I return. And so the one thing that God has been dealing with me about is intimacy, not just um, with Him. And I know that's an unpopular subject because most church people think it's all deep. And no, he began to even deal with me about intimacy and relationships, connections, things that he is blessing us with in this season, covenants. He wants us to be able to bond and to mingle and to mix and to enjoy those because you need to know those that labor among you. He wants us to be sensitive to the things that are happening in the earth. Not I'm one of those people that don't watch the news. And I know to all of the older people, even to my family, my grandparents, they think that is crazy. How will you know what's happening if you don't watch it? And I'm like, because that's fed to me.
Yeah.
But God is constantly downloading into my spirit um, what's happening. And if there is ever a moment where He's not downloading it, He makes it, there's a hunger for me to listen to Him. Especially being a new mama, which I'm actually rocking her in my lap. So if y'all see me moving, she's clingy today. I'm also a new mom, and the Lord just began to deal with me about raising up a generation of people that aren't suffering with rejection and childhood traumas. And so just having a moment where we are going hard for ministry. My daughters are with me. Well, my daughter is with me, my family's with me, and then I stop and I do nothing ministry related. I am everything but a pastor with them. I am just their mom. I'm just their daughter. I'm just, especially because I have the privilege of leading my family. I am a third generation pastor. I inherited the ministry from my grandparents and changed the name and changed the dynamic and the culture of the church. And so, but being their pastor, I sometimes have to say, you know what, today you don't need a pastor. Today you need a mom because we've got to understand that ministry is in those places too. Ministry is within being a wife, laying hands on that man, speaking life into him, telling him to get up. You can't stay there. I know you feel like you're not providing, but babe, I promise you, I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor a seed begging for bread. We're going to be all right as long as you are in good with me. Then you've got favor with God, and you're telling your kids you're not rejected. You're beautifully and you're wonderfully made. You are on the heart of God. Even though your daddy may say you're a mistake and your mama may feel like you're a mistake, you are intentional. And so I just try my best to ground myself because what I have learned, and I'm grateful for my grandparents and my parents because I didn't have to deal with this. But what I have learned is what is neglected at home will embarrass you in public. And
Ooh.
so this goes down to your wives not taking care of her, not pouring into her. And then she gets to the church and she messy, she's gossiping. It's because you did not take the time to pour into her so she feels seen. You get to church, if you're a female leader and your husband is all out of pocket, he's going through identity crisis. It's because you did not take time to let him be the king of your castle and say, you know what? Because I'm quick to say it. Listen, at church, I'm their pastor. In this car and forward, I am your wife. I am nothing else. I submit to you. We'll go from there. But when you don't know how to balance, and when you don't take the time to be intimate with God, you can mess up. If we go back to Adam and Eve, when God created Adam, he walked with Adam. The Bible says he walked with them in the cool of the day. So he gave Adam intimacy. He gave Adam instruction. He gave Adam a plan. Then after Adam executed the plan and he saw that it was good, he said, you need something to do. Let me make you a wife. He didn't announce to Eve that she was a wife. When she woke up, she just began to move and function in that place. And so I think that we as leaders, we have gotten so busy into the theatrics of ministry that we forgot the basics of ministry.
That's very good, Pastor. And we do have to learn, and this is a no judgment platform, so we talk about real issues on here. One thing I think we discussed the last time I was on test on Down to Earth Talk was the fact that a lot of women and a lot of men get into church and they forget the freaky side of who they are.
They
They
do.
forget to still love your husband or your wife the same way you did when you dated them or you romanced them. If
Yes.
you drop a rose petals, then continue to drop the same rose petals, just make them a different color. You know,
Yes.
you upgraded, you don't downgrade it. And because you know Jesus, you know how to speak in tongues and lay hands. The
Hmm.
same way you got him, you need to
You got to keep.
remember that's the same way you keep him.
Yes.
Wisdom, just experience gives you wisdom. So you have to know and understand. I found out now, and because you're talking about intimacy, and I love this topic, I found out now that people are so caught up in church that they neglect home. You
They
made
do.
a powerful statement. I need you to repeat that. You said what you do at home will embarrass you. What you neglect at home
At
will
home will embarrass you in public. It will. You have to get to the point where you understand that just because you were called to the masses don't mean that the minimal don't matter.
Ooh,
That this means that I got to work even harder on my husband and my children and my wife and my mom, because my mother birthed a pastor. She
mhm.
birthed a prophetic voice. That is hard to have to watch your daughter suffer, to have to watch her go through for the sake of ministry. If I don't take a moment and say, Mama, you know what? I appreciate you. I love you. And you are necessary. Thank you for not aborting me. Thank you for not taking a pill to get rid of me. Thank you. If I take the moment, not only am I imparting and ministering to my own family, but I am giving myself a certain amount of fulfillment. Because God has definitely given me stewardship and he's trusted me with these souls. And many of times we think that the only souls that matter are the souls that can text and tweet and Facebook a post about you. They're
Come on.
not. To be quite honest, if your family reflects the voice of God and if it reflects the grace of God, then the rest of the ministry will follow suit. And I think that we forget that. You forget that that man needs his girlfriend. He don't need you dictating to him. He don't need you fussing at him. He doesn't care that you're tired. You know, went to church, gave these people all of you, laid them out on the floor, and you come home and you can't lift a leg. The devil is a liar. Listen, I've got to learn to control the spirit realm so that God gets the glory, but my flesh understands that I need 20% to take home.
That's
But we
it.
don't do that. We dump and we expect our spouses and our loved ones because you have to date. You got to date. You have to date. We expect our loved ones, our significant others, to understand that we're in ministry. Yeah, you understand it, but you still have needs. You still
Yes,
want attention. You still
that's right.
want affection.
That is so true. And the topic of tonight literally is learning that how to date without being judgmental because you have to date. You
Yes.
do. You know what I'm saying?
You
Don't
do.
judge me because I'm dating. Don't judge me. Watch this. And this is my thing for me. I stopped wearing my club clothes, but when he come, then I want to still wear a nice, sexy dress for my man. Don't judge me. Don't worry about what's going on over here. Because I promise you, when I go on a date with my husband, when he get here, I'm not going to wear a clergy shirt.
I'm
So we
not.
have to learn how to become free in who we are
Mm,
and still be the authentic man or woman of God that God has called us to be. But just like you said, there's a balance to everything. And we
mm,
have to learn how to balance that. We have to stop coming subjected to those that hold us captive to bondage and be free and liberated in the skin that God created us to be in. He
yes.
did not call us to the bedroom to wear a clergy shirt, a robe from top to bottom. If you're
Yeah.
gonna be in costume, that's something completely different, which is stilettos on. But if you go into the bedroom with all this, he didn't call me to listen it behind the cross
He
in the
did not.
bedroom. We got
He,
to learn how to have the same, just like you said, the same intimacy with our companion, our mate. And I think that's where we fail as a body. We have to learn how to balance life
he did.
when he arrives.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn it back over to the woman of God. When he arrives, listen, we are not going to be spending 99 hours in church at the altar. You
Amen.
have to take care of your home.
Hmm.
There is another a level of intimacy that is just expected when you are in a relationship. How can I be with
Hmm.
someone I don't know? I'm not that girl. I'm not gonna meet you on social media. I'm not gonna tell you to meet me over here, and then tomorrow no, I'm not gonna do that. You have to try the spirit by the spirit and see if it be of God, and you have to know who you get involved with, because everybody is not a match made in heaven for you because of your ministry. Are you hearing me? And that's the problem. We have
Yeah.
to learn how to get to know who we are dating and then
Hmm.
move forward. But balance and intimacy is necessary.
It definitely is. I think it's more important than anything else, because when I don't like you,
Come on.
intimacy
Come on.
helps me to understand. He prepared and he created us to be givers and takers. So if I don't have anything to receive and you ain't got nothing to give, then what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with everything you said. I believe, especially in dating, you have to we take this equally yoked thing and we mix it all up. But we got to be equally yoked in our thoughts. We've got to be equally yoked in it. Because I every Sunday when I get up in the pulpit, well, when we're getting ready to go home, I remind them that one day I'm gonna be somebody's wife, and we will not be in here no 16 hours. Because if he didn't do it within the time that I still have to go home and cook a dinner and make sure that the house is good, make sure these kids are in bed so he gets some time with me without the children. You've got to get to the point where you operate in structure in your home just like you do in the church, so that that way it operates and it flows throughout. I think that we've given dating and love and marriage a bad name. We have. We make it look boring. We make it look horrible. We make it look dreadful. We do. I just had a conversation with somebody and I'm like, all church girls are not the same. Some of us are so in tune with God, we going to ask God first before we act or respond to what you're bringing us. And I think that when you learn to trade religion for relationship with God, He helps you in those areas. You'll be surprised what, listen, for the past few weeks, I have been hearing random love songs at work. One of the songs I've been hearing, and it's like it's on repeat. I'm working, I'm doing nothing, and then all of a sudden you'll hear, soon as I get home, I'll make it up to you. And so I was like, okay,
Baby, I'll do what I
yes, I
gotta
said, and
do.
instantly, let me kill the religious demon. Instantly, I responded, God, who's on their way home? God, what are you trying to tell me? Lord, what's about to happen? What are you bringing together so I can be in the move, in the moment of you? I'm not so deep that I forget that I'm a woman. And
Hey,
I'm not such a woman that I forget that I have standards. But at
yes.
the same time, there is a middle ground that you must work and operate in. You got to have a release. You got to have. I'm a firm believer in dressing up and going out with your girlfriends, and because you need to tap into that woman and not just the roles of life, so that you can learn how to balance them both.
That's true. A lot of times, because a lot of people have been wounded and hurt in church, they refrain from the connection of sisterhood or brotherhood. But we, just like you saying, it has to be well rounded. The scripture said all things work together. And so,
Mm,
in the all things, we have to learn how, just as you stated, to have that balance and that standard in our lives. Because if we don't, then you'll fall somewhere because you're not balanced. And then you'll have a warped mindset, or
yes,
either you'll be unstable in an area of your life, what will cause you internally to become vulnerable. So we want to make sure, just like you saying, that we have to, it's necessary. I don't want to pick up the phone when my husband arrived, I thank God that he'll be a friend to me. However, I still want that sisterhood. I
yeah,
still want that communication, because it's something that women can give women, men can give men, but then it's something that we can give each other together. And it's not that I'm putting her first, or someone else first, but it's that you do need that quality time with your girlfriends,
you do.
because we do something for each other, we inspire each other, we empower each other with the true sisterhood. We're able to bounce things off of one another,
Yes,
ideas, and we build one
yes,
another, and we support, and it becomes the village that we need, that helps undergird us. So of course we got to have that. And at the same time, this is my pet peeve right here: no one should be jealous of no one.
not at all.
And see, that part, go ahead, woman of God.
We have to understand, if we're honest, we're all broken. We're all struggling in some area of life. And so when you get to the point where you're, again, back to intimacy, when you're spending time with those that matter, when you're spending time in God's presence, God has a funny way of revealing you to you. When you spend time with your family, he reveals you to you. I was took my mom and my daughter today to take photos, and I watched my 1 year old one actually pose for these pictures. She's just like doing random poses, and it was in that moment where the Holy Spirit began to talk to me like, "This is what people see when they look at you. This is how charismatic you are. This is how you draw people in." And so I believe that when you're with, if the more time that you spend in the connection and the confinements of those that matter and those connections, you don't have to be jealous because you know who you are.
Exactly.
I know that I am an intricate part of my sisterhood. I am the one of the funniest parts of my friendships. I mean, not to say my friends are not funny, but I like to think I'm pretty funny. So because I know my area, I know my strength, I know it is to heal, and it is to bring balance, and it is to bring order. I'm not jealous of her ability to be sweet and kind and have everything that I don't have yet, because I understand that my journey is different from her journey, but it's still gonna get there.
Exactly.
But it takes intimacy. It takes coming out, being broken out of your identity crisis, not sitting at home being what that man said you are or what that woman said you are, but being who God says that you are, so that you can then function. But again, intimacy, sitting still. Some of us don't like our own company. Some
Hmm.
of us don't like to sit down and pray and be quiet for a moment. Some of us don't like to get up and move around the house and get to know. I share with the women at church all the time, there should not be any other energy in your house that is stronger than your energy. You need to
Ooh,
walk through your house, pray, sing. If you don't say nothing, just move so that way you don't feel like a stranger serving children, serving husbands. You just sitting in a room all day allowing depression to set in, instead of you getting up and you doing something that is productive and getting your mind and your spirit moving. So I agree. I think that um I'm a firm believer in, when I am married, I have friends, because first of all, you never know when you're going through something in your marriage and you're about to walk out, but your girlfriend knows that you're complicated, and she can look at you and say, "Sis, listen, I've been meaning to tell you, you dramatic. Get that man a break. I've been meaning to tell you that you fuss a lot. Give that man a break because sometimes we don't see ourselves. But you got girlfriends and you created a safe place for them to be real. Sometimes they can be the mirror and they can call out those demons in a nice, productive way. And now you've avoided divorce court.
Whew. I had about 33 thoughts when you were saying that. The first thing I want to say is this. Um, what we're dealing with now in society is narcissistic.
Whew.
Dealing with narcissism people that deal with that are narcissistic. Listen, we're not telling you all because this is my thing. We have to learn how to marry who God has for us
Mhm.
and not who we want for our flesh. That's the first thing. Because many times we don't marry who's connected to the ministry on the inside of us. We can marry to what he or she looks like. Well, I'm past 50 now. I'm marrying who God has for me. I've tried the other thing, it
Yeah.
did not work. Okay. But I'm not going to spend my time dwelling on what was because when he comes, and this is my climax right here, I don't have baggage to take into my new marriage. And a
Yes,
lot of us take baggage from the old relationships. And this is what I want to clear the air in. Stop expecting everybody to be your father in the relationship where he just trying to be your husband. I don't want to marry anybody like my daddy. Are you hearing me? I don't want to marry anybody like my brother. I want to marry the man of God that God has for me with the uh, uh, with the idea or the concept that he's the king in my life, not because he reflect the image of my dad or mirror the image of my brother. No,
Mhm.
that's not what we're doing. I don't want anybody in the bedroom that reminds me in my head that
My
when I make
daddy.
love
That's so
to
weird.
my husband, I'm making love to my dad or to my brother. No, that's in. No, we're not doing that. That's incest. That's the spirit of incest. We're going to destroy that. I
Yes.
want to marry the person
Amen.
that God has for
Assembly.
me. The next thing is women learn how to silence your mouth when it's time because we talk too much a lot of times when it's not time to talk. The Bible says, study to be quiet. You got to learn how and be swift to hear. You got to know when it's time to talk and when it's time to listen. In this season, many of us need to practice listening and not talking all the time. A wise woman build her house. Are you hearing me? But a foolish woman tear it down. A man rather be on the rooftop of his house than to deal with a nagging woman. Don't
Mm-hmm.
run him away because your lip service is out the door. You've got to learn how to now be humble in a submissive status. I'm not talking about you being a slave because this is the seeds that our parents, especially me and 50 and over, has instilled. That's not what God has called us to. Submission is not him making you a slave or you making him a slave. Are you hearing me?
I just had that conversation with someone. I was talking about past trauma and going into relationships healed. I had shared a video with a friend, and their response was, "No, they're wrong. You need to be healed before you go into a relationship." I partly disagree. What I mean by that is I think that you need to have, like Doctor said, you need to be aware and conscious of not bringing it. But sometimes you just need to practice self control. You need to sit and say, you know what? I am not my issue. I am not my problem. I need to learn how to control that. Stop acting like a unhappy toddler. When they don't get their way, they throw a fit. It takes you forever to calm them down. I have to realize that he is not my daddy. She is not my mama. I got out of a 5 year verbally and mentally abusive relationship marriage. And I had to remember, I took 2 years. I had to reprogram my mind because even though I have always been mentally and spiritually strong, I was still taking that stuff in. And even though I wasn't applying it, I didn't believe anything that he said about me. It was still attached to me. It was still in me. I had to take a moment and say, you know what, God, I know I'm not these things. Dump them out of me so that I can move on. But what God had to reveal to me was, okay, I can dump it out of you, but you still are not healed because it's going to take a man showing you that not all men are the same. You will never go, and this is going to be unpopular opinion, and I say it all the time, and I get the side eye. You will never go into your marriages, your relationships completely healed. There is always some residue because some of it they got to minister to. When you're told you'll never be nothing, you'll never go nowhere, you didn't believe it, you didn't receive it. But that man, every time he says to you, babe, you're awesome, you're wonderful, something on the inside of you is going to remember when the last one said, you'd never be anything, you never go anywhere. If you, as a man, had a woman always misusing you and mishandling you and tearing you down, but you get married to a godly woman who says to you, you know what, babe, you're my king, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking care of me. You didn't have to do that. Babe, what do you need me to do for you? It's going to trigger something. And something in you is going to say, wait a minute, what I do? You trying to kill me? What happened? I ain't never had that happen to me. You are never, ever completely healed because there are three parts to your healing. The first part is your self-work. It's the stuff you've got to do. It's the stuff you've got to acknowledge. It's making sure you know that you played a part in it too. My part that I played in being abused, I stayed too long. I kept waiting on God to tell me, for the sake of the church, when to leave. When I should have left a long time ago. It took God putting him on his back for me to leave. And so that was the first part. The second part was, after that, I then had to get to a point where I allowed love in. I allowed someone to love me. And then the last part was, I let it work for me. I then was okay with communication. I would say, you're triggering me. Listen, what you just said to me, because what that relationship taught me was how to speak. It taught me how to say, I'm not okay. I don't like this. God never intended for you to be a doormat or a punk. He intended for you to learn from the lessons, apply what he taught you, and love and move forward. He didn't intend for you to self-protect. And that's what we do oftentimes. I'm so sick of hearing church hurt. Listen, everybody is hurt. Are you going to move forward? Are you going to take on your part? Are you going, all of these things, and that's just saying the church hurt, but even in relationships, I'm just going to be single because I don't trust nobody. Maybe you're the problem. So I think that we have to get to the point where while we're preparing ourselves to date and to be in relationships, that we understand that we will never be perfect. It's not our job to perfect ourselves.
That's a very valid point, and you brought up so many. You always do, though. It's just amazing that we need to start thinking. She's with her baby, you all, so you all be patient. But we need to consider the fact that no one is perfect, and there will be some residue. So that's definitely a true statement for her to make. No one, and I don't know anyone that is just 100%. So we have to learn how to deal with who we are as an individual. And this is what I'm going to say right here. I've noticed and I've learned that people don't understand the fact that I'm okay with being who I am. And with that being said, I can go out, I can take myself out to lunch. I can take myself out to dinner. I can take myself to the movie. And I don't have a problem with that because I'm okay in the skin that I'm in. And until God send that person, then I'm okay, and then we'll complete each other. However, you have to learn how to love yourself. Because if I'm loving myself, then I know that I'm able and capable of loving him or you loving her once she arrives. Don't be incomplete in your own, just like the woman of God said, your identity crisis. You shouldn't be still having an identity crisis because you've got to learn how to heal. You have to learn how to forgive and move forward. And these things are most advantageous in order for you to get to your future. You cannot stay stuck where you are and just self-destroy yourself because you refuse to move forward. We have to know how to love ourselves, heal, and move. You have to move. You can't stay there. You can't stay there. One thing I've learned, this is what I told God about my next husband. If he loved God, I know he'll be capable and well able to love me. I didn't ask him to be perfect. I asked him to love God. And if he can love God, then I'll know that we can work through it. Because as the woman of God said earlier, when you're dealing with a pastor or anyone in ministry, do understand there's going to be warfare, and the warfare is going to come. I need him to be able to pray me through. Come on. I need you to pray me through and love me the same time, because warfare get ugly. It gets really ugly.
Yes.
It gets ugly, and people get wounded sometimes. And sometimes even we get wounded. But you have to know and understand through prayer and supplication that you're going to be fine. Come on, woman of God.
Amen. I agree with that. Going back to, and I'm gonna bring it back forward when you were talking about how you love to take yourself out, and so one thing that the Lord had been dealing with me about is being your own type of single. Okay, because you've got so many female moguls
That's a book. Mm-hmm.
that are pushing that are pushing this is what single looks like, and if you're not doing this and you're not comfortable with yourself, what is okay for doctor to do, it may not be okay with me. She likes taking herself out, I don't. Because I'm so social. I'm such a social butterfly. When I'm out, I start talking to strangers. You don't want me to be out. I start. My mama will tell you. My friends will tell. I will spark up a whole conversation with a complete stranger because I'm just social. Because I am a healer. I don't always turn it off. I just be everywhere talking to everybody. But but for me, what I had to learn to do in place of taking myself out was sitting at home alone, was cooking the dinner.
Ah.
I come home, I take a shower, I take my daughter to my mama's house, I put on my bathrobe, I cook my dinner while I'm listening to my music, and then I sit down and I have dinner by myself, rub my feet together, and watch my movie. Because it took me a long time, number one, to have peace in my own space. I was living with
Mm.
someone where I would hate to go home because he was there. I would sit in the car 30, 40 minutes on my phone, like, I don't want to go in here. Still doing ministry, still anointed, but I didn't have enough anointing to break that demon that was at home. And so I had to be my own type of single, but I beat myself up. For the first year of my divorce, I beat myself up because I wasn't the single that everyone was saying they were. I took myself to the movies and got to a part where the movie was funny, and I forgot I was by myself and leaned over to laugh, and I felt so stupid because I was like, you ain't here by yourself. Who are you laughing with? I had to remember that that doesn't have to be my version of being single. Whatever God needs me to do to find a place of healing, that's what I'll do. So I don't like going out by myself. But what I've learned is I've learned that sometimes it's necessary, but it's not law. um you can be to the point where you've learned balance even in caring for yourself. It's okay to say, and that's another thing. We have to kill this. I'm single and I don't need nobody. The devil is a liar. You
Yeah, the
were not
devil is a
created
liar.
to be single.
The
When
devil is
God
a liar.
created you, now man may be able to say that. I still don't believe that, but he could probably say that. But, and I'm about to say something that's going to ruffle some feathers, but you woman of God, you lady, were created because he was bored. When God looked out and saw Adam, he said he needs something to do. He needs somebody to entertain him. He needs to help me. So we've got to learn how to operate in our ability to be what God created us to be. And it's okay to say, you know what, Lord, this is my single era. This is my single season, but I'm not going to always be here. So Lord, just teach me how to be. It's okay to want marriage. It's okay to want relationships. And Dr. touched on narcissism. You've also got to be so rooted and grounded in yourself and in your relationship with God that you don't believe everything that comes your way.
That's
Because
it.
when you are single and anointed, you attract demons.
Whoop.
As single and anointed don't mean you in the pulpit preaching, you doing Facebook lives, or that doesn't mean anointed. Anointed means I know how to stand in the gap. I know how to pray. I know how to lay hands. I know how to educate myself. I have a marketplace anointing. I've got a wealth anointing. I've got a business anointing. We trap people into church. This is so much bigger than
The
church. We
church.
serve a universal God. He is a God that is everywhere and nowhere and somewhere all at the same time. And when you learn how to be your version of who God created you to be and understand that you are anointed for what you do, then you understand that everybody is going to draw themselves. The demons that need help are going to come to you. But I've got to be in the place where I've spent time with me. I've healed. I've done the work so I can recognize that this is not for me.
You said something, you said several things actually. When I was in my marriage and I was going through my divorce, I also did the same thing. I didn't want to go in the house. So I would spend my time at Publix grocery store, which was my favorite place, hours at a time, just sitting there, just reflecting not only on the marriage, but also on me as an individual. And one thing you said early in the conversation is that you have to get to know who you are, because when you looking in the image in the mirror, God shows you yourself. When you begin to fast, God shows you yourself, and he show you what you don't like. And he shows us what we need to get rid of, what we need to discard, what we need to extract. And we need to start working on that. Everyone cannot afford to point fingers, because there are places inside of us that just we need to be delivered from those things. Residues still linger, and you have to take ownership of your own behavior. Just as she said earlier, I had to do that, because I can talk about the lip service because I gave the lip service. And when God rebuked me and chastised me and corrected me, I had to look in the mirror and see myself the way that God was seeing me. And he began to work on me. Are you hearing me? So everything is not the other person's problem. Two people are in a relationship. So two people, and the Bible said, and the two shall become one flesh. So now we're dealing with the flesh of individualism as well as those that are together. So you have to understand and know, stop being too quick to point finger at him or her and say it's them. No, you all are in this together. So somewhere along the way, it just did not gel. My thing and my truth is this: I got to have peace. That's just me. I have to have peace. You cannot have a spirit of Jezebel and try to control everything about who I am as an individual. You can't do that. That's too much pressure on anyone. If you have to control me, then you don't trust me. I need someone to be in my life or be around, and this should be for others as well, that is able to trust me when I'm out their presence. If it's a problem for me to be out their presence where they got to time clock me, even if I decide to stop by Starbucks, if I decide to stop by QT, that's going to be a problem. And a lot of that is a lot of people's problem, because we marry people that God has not given us the ability, told us to marry, but yet sometimes they marry for flesh or whatever the reason is. I know my reason and I know my truth. Another thing you said was that be your own type of single. And I had to learn how to be my own type of single, because there was a time that, just like yourself, I wasn't going anywhere by myself. I had the need, watch this, to be validated. And I felt like people validated and made me feel like I was important because they was around me.
Yeah.
But when God delivered me, and you said something so profound, when God delivered me from people, I realized not only now can I love myself, I can take myself out. It don't offend me. I'm a people person as well. I can sit at home and I'm good. I don't have to be in the streets. I don't have to be in somebody's face. I don't always have to be in my girlfriend's house. Are you hearing me? I'm okay with the skin I'm in. I like that. And that is definitely a book. Be your own type of single. That's good. You need to write that book. I'm telling you.
I definitely will.
And so those of you that are on the call tonight, she's sharing some vital information, especially with those that have been hurt in relationships. I don't care if you have been hurt in relationship. I care, but I don't care. Just like she stated, it's time for you to heal and move forward. You have to learn how to heal. You cannot afford to stay stuck where you are. That literally cripples the growth and expansion in your life. One more thing I want to bring apart. If you are unmarried, or you're divorced, or you're widow, or you're single, or whatever, don't say you don't want to be with anyone. Everybody needs or deserves to be with someone. I don't want to grow old alone. I do not
Nope.
want to grow old alone. I want to hold my husband's hand. I want him, wake up and, us snoring in the bed, whatever it takes. I
Mm-hmm.
want to spend time enjoying someone else's companionship because that's vitally important. I'm with the woman of God, as she said, God didn't create us to be by ourselves.
He
You
did.
deserve to be with someone else. Come on, woman of God.
I I just want to share a nugget for someone that's listening. When you said that you don't want to be alone. So there was something that God had. There was an aha moment, right? Remember we talked about owning your part in what took place. My grandmother says all the time, the great Pastor Harper. I know she's watching. Hey, Nana. Um, she says all the time, you teach people how to treat you. So whatever you allow or whatever you do is a cause of what they do. And I remember being healing in my separation. And I remember praying and saying, God, I don't want to be with anybody else because at this point, I don't want to go through this again. And the Holy Spirit rebuked me. And I hope that this blesses somebody. And he said to me, you telling me that means that you believe that he was the best I had for you. You saying, I don't want to be with nobody else. I don't want to date nobody else. I don't want to give nobody else a chance. It's saying, I am not a God that can top my last thing that I did. And he said, so you're boxing me in because you're hurt. And that means you don't trust me to top my last move in your life. Many of us have to understand that when we say things out of our mouths, that is not you speaking, that is hurt speaking. And you got to get to the point where you realize that in that moment, God is trying to bless you with better. He's trying to give you greater, but you keep boxing life in. Every time I said that, I didn't feel anything. I was just like, I don't want to do it. I'm done. I'm finished. And then one day I was sitting alone, because he called me to a season of loneliness. He said, I want you to go home. I want you to go to work. I want you to go home and I want you to sit down and wait for me to talk to you. I didn't know what he was going to say, but I was obedient to his will. I would get up. I worked from home at this time. I was working for Emory Healthcare, and I was working from home. I would literally go on my break, go in the living room, and I would pray on every break. And at the end of the day, and one day, after pursuing him for a week, he said to me that you are telling me that that's all I can do for you. That's the best I have for you. And I was like, Lord, he didn't know how to talk to me. Then why would you say that was the best? I called him to love you like Christ loved the church. I don't disrespect the church. I don't mishandle the church. I don't cheat on the church. And this myth where we say, don't make a man chase you. God chases the church. He comes after it. He pursues it. He is confident that she's worth his death, burial, and resurrection. You don't tell me there's not a man out there that won't walk to the ends of the earth for you just because the last one didn't. I'm done.
How you gonna just put that out there and say I'm done? Listen, she dropped the atomic bomb and say I'm done. I'm
Because
done.
that right there, when I say that blessed me, and I had a moment where I had to repent, and I was like, God, I'm sorry for, because basically what I told God is, you don't love me enough to give me better. You don't love me enough to teach me that someone can love me by me saying that this was all I could get. And when I say to you, I'm not just speaking from a place of not knowing. Long after we were divorced, this man was scandalizing my name and calling me the monster. But God was still rebuking me. He was still saying, but I called you to love. I called you to heal. I called you to be obedient. It doesn't matter what he says. Don't you come down, Nehemiah, from building to go fix your name. I got it. I just need you to allow me to finish it and understand that what I did before, I will, and I'm already doing it again. And we got to get to the point where we stop getting stuck for a pity party, for attention, because some of us are still nursing bad behavior and past pain because it gets us attention. I don't want that kind of attention. Call me healed. Call me whole, because God has something better for me. I can't stop where I am. I don't have time to come off the wall to say to you, oh, you know you were wrong. You abused me. No, listen here. There was a song. She says, blame it on me. Say it's my fault.
That's
I
it.
don't care what you say, as long as you say it's over. You can tell them I kicked your dog. Just go to the other side of the earth and leave me alone, because I've got healing to do. And there is a man There is a king. There is love. There is peace. There is joy waiting on me. And if I keep coming off my wall to entertain you, I will never finish what God has for me.
Woo! You know, you gotta just sit for a second. The woman of God said you blowed up the mic. You didn't drop the mic. You just blowed the mic completely up. Listen, that was well said, and that was revelation. I'm telling you, it's hard sometimes when we know it's not us, and God be saying, "But you have to forgive them. You still have to pray for them. You still have to, consecrate yourself. You still have to fast." And you'll be like, "But God, I know what you're saying, but ooh."
Let me get him. Let me at him, and he'd be like, "Sit still." And then they come back to you. They come back to you. You're like, "But Lord, you ain't gonna let me say it's okay when they do it. It's a problem when I do it."
Yes.
But I had to learn that in that meeting, in that moment, God was teaching me what it felt like to die for a group of people that didn't want Him.
Exactly.
He was teaching me what it felt like to be crucified because that old me had to die.
Yes.
And so I used to tell my family, I'm going to leave him, but I got to wait until I can leave him without wondering if I made the wrong mistake. Let me process the way I need to process. I can't stand when people tell you, "Child, get over it." No, you get over it. It didn't happen to you. Right. I have to heal the way I was supposed to heal. And one of the parts, because I have such a heart of compassion and I love, is a gift that God has given me. I used to curse it. God, every time they do me wrong, I'm still in love. I'm still hoping. I'm still praying. I just want to not love anymore. And he had to tell me, "No, you are my heart in the earth. I need you to understand that as long as you love the way you love, man can never say they don't know what it feels like to be loved correctly." Mm-hmm. And I had to get that in my spirit and accept that I can't give my love to everybody, but I can't curse the love he gave me either. And I got to the point where I had to allow God, because I would always sit and be like, "Well, Lord, maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I should have, maybe." So what happened was God had to allow that thing to keep whipping on me so I could be done for real. Because he knows my heart. I would have gone back because they were sick. I would have gone back because they were lost. So he had to put me in a position where I was so disgusted that all I wanted to do was hide. Because then he could meet me where I was. But as long as I kept trying to fix it and go after it and fix my name, and there's somebody on here tonight that keeps trying to bandage old wounds, leave that Band-Aid off and let that thing breathe. It is not your job to fix it. It is God's job to repair it, put that skin on there like new. It's going to itch, it's going to hurt, it's going to burn. But he's doing a new thing. And you got to just go through the process.
Ma'am, listen. I can't say nothing. I don't know what to say. I'm still stuck on your revelation that he gave you, because that's just where it is. That's just where it is. And I know what that feels like. It's something about people that went and people that were sent. It's something about those that have been chosen, that God give us the correction and the chastisement in a totally different way. When I know, just like you said, you want to just go for the blood, and he telling us to stand down and stand still, because it's something about what we did in the world. Watch this. When our name was in the world, but when you come to God, you want your name, to be rectified. You want your name to be clear. You want a clean slate, because if God gave us a new beginning, we want to continue to have old things pass away. It's something about vindicating your name, and people don't understand that, especially in this gospel thing. It's crazy. Yeah. But that's what God does, and he does it exactly like so many times. I'm telling you, I had a whole drive-by in my head. I had flattened the tires. I drove past. I bust the windows out the car. I did all of that. Are you hearing me? In my mind. And along the way growing up, I remember my daughter saying to me, "Mommy, why people keep treating you wrong or mistreating you?" And I had to learn how to explain it to her so that she's able to understand that it was part of my process. that I had to pass this test with God because I knew internally he was going to do something that was going to be beneficial for the kingdom. Where y'all going?
Absolutely.
Not just beneficial for me, but it's long term. It's about the souls that are in our hands, not where we are today. God does do things for us long term, not right now. Are you hearing? Because what she said was, I knew it was bigger than me. It was about the people and not just about me. But now I had to become that one that was crucified. I had to become the lamb that was slain. I had to become the one that God saw on the my God, on the altar. Because it's not about right now. It's about the souls that he have in our hands. Listen, I'm telling you, everybody, and I'm saying this, I didn't grow up in church. I went on Black holidays, and listen to me very clear. I didn't grow up in church. I knew about all the Black holidays and what I know God has taught me along the way. But I question people that desire, that is excited about taking on a title when I could give you my title. Oh, y'all ain't saying. When you going online and you buying a title, there's a suffering to this. And the suffering is not pretty all the time. Are you hearing me? There's tears that we cry sometimes. I know me. I don't even know who I'm interceding for. Tears just coming down my eyes.
Listen, that goes back to a comment that you made about when I get married, I need my husband to be able to pray for me. I had a conversation the other day, and someone told me they're in ministry. They told me that when they get married, they don't want someone in church. I said, okay, cool. That's, to each their own. But I need, because sometimes when you are sensitive to the spirit, when you are prophetic, you take on emotions that you don't always understand. Things attach themselves to you, and you don't always know that they're there sometimes. And of course, we stay prayed up, so they're not deeply rooted, but they hang on to you. And sometimes you find yourself crying, irritated, frustrated, agitated, you're screaming at the dog, and you don't know what's wrong with you. But the people around you that are sensitive to the fact that this is not your normal behavior can now pray you out of that thing. And so I agree with you. I think that a lot of times we end up in positions and in places where we don't understand the suffering that is tied to your next level. We don't understand what that's going to look like. We don't understand that it's going to be uncomfortable and that it's going to be painful. And this is why it is important to understand who's around you, who's connected to you, because they could cause more suffering. I'm not going to get no title. I tell God all the time, I was fine just doing praise and worship. That was enough suffering for me. I'm all right. I had to stay awake when you wanted to sing to me. I had to know what atmosphere I was going in. I had to nurse my voice in my throat. You want me to lead your people? I was all right. I didn't ask for this. God, you came and got me. So don't leave me out here. You got to say something. I tell them all the time, you ain't going to make me say something you ain't said. So show up. I ain't going to tell them not damn more time that you are a deliverer until you deliver me. You're going to have to do something. I need to see your hand at work in my life so that I can speak truth, because I won't be a hypocrite.
That's right.
And so because the suffering is not fair, not only is it not fair, not only is it not pretty, but it ain't announced either. You can be okay at 9 a.m. on Monday.
Come on.
And at 11:15 on the way to your car, all hell breaks loose.
That's it.
I was interceding, preparing my house for my fast that I was going on. Walked outside, slipped and fell, and rolled my ankle. I was like, Lord, now how am I walk the house and pray, and I can't even walk? But I had to keep my brain and my mindset focused on my obedience. What did he tell me to do? Again, back to intimacy. Knowing him well enough to know how to shift myself. That he's not disappointed that I messed up. He's disappointed if I don't get up.
That's it.
I got to get myself back in place. I got discouraged when I twisted my ankle. So I called everybody crying because I'm so independent that I don't like to depend on people. I don't like to ask anybody for help because of past trauma. But God put me in a place, in a position where somebody had to tie my ankle up. Somebody had to get me an ice pack. Somebody had to take care of my kid. He said, I'm going to teach you that it's okay to need me. And it's okay to need those that I send in your life. But we've got to get to the place and the position where we are allowing God to teach us along the way. Because you ain't gonna learn it all at one time. This thing rolls in
That's
process.
it. Everything, it's a process. It's all about the process of life and us being willing and obedient to handle or deal with the process and at least stay in it. Just like you said, I tell people all the time, it's not that I have a problem with you failing or losing or being defeated. I have a problem with you when you don't get up. It's all about getting back up
Get
and
up,
staying in it.
recover.
Woman of God, listen, the hour has passed and I'm telling you, our time has expired. And I'm definitely excited. I'm always excited when I'm in your presence because you have such a diverse word, a word of revelation, and you always just come in with a twist. And I love that. Continue to be the best you that you can because I'm telling you, can't nobody beat you at doing it but you. I'm telling you. Any final words or remark? And I do want you to let us know your church, let us know the name of the church, location, website, anything you want to share with the audience tonight. And I ask you tonight, before we leave the call, amen, that you offer Christ to the people.
Yes, I have no last words. I think we've said more than enough. I just don't allow the enemy to abort what you picked up tonight. Don't allow him to make you miscarry it. Hold on to it. We get so much word, we get full. Dump some and take it in. The ministry is Transforming Word Church ATL because I plan to plant more. This is just the beginning, and it is in Lake City, Georgia, which is a tiny, like 2 light city behind Morrow, Georgia. But we have service every Sunday at 10:30. We are on Facebook Live for Bible study, and every second and fourth Saturday I do live prayer. So if you guys want to join us tomorrow morning, we'll be on prayer, just calling out and standing in the gap for people. But I listen. If you don't know Christ, because to be saved is to accept him, to know who he is, and to know he died for you. But to be sanctified is to live a set aside life and to practice it. I'm going to walk this thing out with you either way. If you don't know him, you are not saved. You don't know who he is, and you just happen to stumble across this live because, amen, the great woman of God has created another platform for the name of God and the voice of God to be heard, then listen, it's as simple as accepting him into your life and saying, I know you died for me and that I matter. And I know you are the Son of God and you were sent for the remission of sins. And guess what? Heaven celebrates you for being a believer and for being brought over into, amen, this side of heaven. The second part, if you already are saved, you know him, you love him, but you are having trouble living a sanctified life, we decree and declare over your hearts, your mind, and your bodies right now and your spirits that living life for God is easy. Old habits are shedding. They are breaking. Old demons and things like that have attached themselves to you are now fleeing from your presence by the name of God so that you can live a whole life. Listen, we love you so much, but there you are. You have now been accepted into the kingdom of God. And now for those that were already saved, you've been put back on track. Don't lose your spot. It matters.
Thank you so much, Pastor. I'm telling you, I told you the woman of God, when she speaks, is like the voice of many waters. I always love her. And to hear her, you all listen, this does not compare to seeing her in person. When I saw her come forward, I didn't even know she was a minister. I had no idea. I knew that there was a speaker. She was in the house and she wrecked the house. And it's just amazing hearing her in person go forward in song, in the prophetic, in deliverance, and she don't play. Definitely radical woman of God, definitely outside the box. I love her ministry. I love what she brings, and she ministers and caters to, watch this, to all facets of life. She don't do age, so it doesn't matter about your age. Powerful, powerful, powerful ministry. I honor her and what she does, and I highly respect her. She said she's been following me since she was a little girl, but I highly respect her ministry. Listen, she is a vital component of my life in my end part of my life. And she gave me a yes to what I asked her. And I tell you, I was so honored that she did. So again, thank you so much, Pastor, for joining the call. Congratulations on your motherhood. Thank you for sharing your voice on tonight and your time. We appreciate you. That's it. That's all. Listen, we love you on Down to Earth Talk. Until next time, you all have a wonderful, powerful, prosperous night. Until next time, God bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you for joining Down to Earth Talk with Dr. Cint Gilstrap. This episode is brought to you by VOC Magazine, Voices of Champions. If you would like to be a sponsor or advertise on this show, visit www.cgmenterprises.com for more information. Dr. Cint Gilstrap presents Down to Earth Talk, conversations that inspires, educates, and are thought-provoking. Don't miss Down to Earth Talk, streaming live every Friday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. It's Down to Earth Talk with Dr. Cint Gilstrap. For more information how you can be a guest on Down to Earth, simply visit www.cintgilstrapministries.com.